Hello, my name is Josefa Ramirez. I'm a fourth-year architecture student at the University of Chile, and I will be presenting a literature review on what's the role of planetary urbanization in rural areas. So I will be sharing my screen, okay? And more specifically, I will be talking about how does planetary urbanization impact socio-economic dynamics of rural communities. So to introduce ourselves into this topic, we have to understand that urbanization has been and will be a process that only increases. Right now, we're living in the so-called urban era, the urban age, and therefore the relationship between urban and rural areas has become a focal point for scholarly inquiry. So the implications that planetary urbanization has on rural communities it's a topic that is worth of understanding, especially when it has this really complex interplay. So the aim of this work is to unravel the intricacies of planetary urbanization and its impact on rural landscapes. Um, this is structured thematically, and it's done by an exploration of diverse perspectives with the idea of seeking to contribute to a more comprehensive grasp of the evolving dynamics between urbanization processes and rural social economics. So the keywords would be planetary urbanization, urban-rural dynamics, urban epistemologies, and spatial inequalities. Okay, so in here, I wanted to explain a bit how I structured this literature review. So I started off by defining planetary urbanization. We have to understand what this term means. And for this, we have two very important works. The first one from 1974 is by Lefebvre. It's called The Production of Space. And more recently, we have a work by Brenner from 2014 called Implosions, Explosions Towards the Study of Planetary Urbanization. Secondly, I wanted to highlight the increasing interconnectedness in between urban and rural areas. And for this, the work by Buckley and Strauss from 2016 was used. It is called With, Against, and Beyond Lefebvre, Planetary Urbanization and Epistemic Plurality. Thirdly, we have the actual impact that this has on rural communities to understand the socio-economic effect. For these two works were used. The first paper is by Wang, May, and Woods from 2023. It's called Planetary Rural Geographies. And the other one is by Kanai from 2014 on the peripheries of planetary urbanization, globalizing Mano, and its expanding impact. And then to finish off by concluding by making the conclusions and a little discussions on this topic. So to start off, we have to define what actually planetary urbanization is. So Lefebvre's work from 1974, I wanted to highlight in here that this is a topic that has been talking about for quite some years now. And it's called, as I said before, The Production of Space. He lays the theoretical groundwork for the social production of space, emphasizing its dynamic relationship with societal structures. He didn't really talk about he didn't actually mention planetary urbanization, but he was talking about the concept itself. So later, Neil Brenner in Implosions, Explosions from 2014 extends Lefebvre's ideas to contemporary global context. As he says in here, his work becomes foundational in defining planetary urbanization as a global scale process, transcending traditional urban-rural distinctions. The key idea is the interconnectedness of urbanization processes on a planetary scale, influenced by neoliberalism and globalization, challenging conventional views and expanding beyond city boundaries. The insight lies in viewing urbanization not as a confined local process, but as a global phenomenon, with interconnected impacts. Planetary urbanization suggests that urban processes, including demographic shifts, economic transformations, and social changes, transcend individual cities or regions. Instead, they form a broader interconnected network spanning the globe. The link between these works in Brenner's theoretical synthesis and application of Lefebvre's ideas to analyze planetary scale urbanization complexities. While Lefebvre's work provides a foundational understanding of space reduction, Brenner's contribution advances it by incorporating contemporary political economic structures, making the concept of planetary urbanization crucial for understanding the intricacies of globalized urban processes. Brenner's work encourages scholars to adopt a holistic perspective when studying urbanization, recognizing intricate connections and influences beyond conventional urban boundaries. Next, we have this increasing interconnectedness between urban and rural areas. So, building on Brenner's conceptual framework, Buckley and Strauss contribute to the theoretical discourse by advocating for epistemic plurality, suggesting that diverse knowledge systems should inform the understanding of planetary urbanization. They contribute to theoretical approach and methodological considerations in studying this concept. Their theoretical stance highlights the necessity of diverse knowledge systems in understanding the interconnected forces shaping urban and rural landscapes, underscoring the evolving nature of urban-rural relationships, emphasizing the need to embrace the spectrum of perspectives, both global and local. The concept to extend urbanization with examples like transoceanic shipping lanes, worldwide communications infrastructures, and offshore financial centers implies a global network where both rural and urban spaces are integrated into larger economic systems. This interconnectedness suggests that economic activities of rural and urban areas contribute to and depend on broader global networks. The key finding here is once again the recognition that urban and rural spaces are no longer isolated entities, but they are linked in complex ways. The increased interconnectedness challenges traditional dualities and prompts scholars to consider a range of perspectives, including local and global knowledge systems. This acknowledgement underscores the need to move beyond rigid urban-rural distinctions and adopt a more inclusive approach that reflects the global dynamics shaping contemporary socio-economic landscapes. So thirdly, we have these two papers. And here I wanted to contrast this first one that comes from a more theoretical approach in relation to this other one that actually takes a case study in Brazil, in Manaus. Okay, so we have to start with this one by Wang, May, and Woods. They contribute significantly by extending the planetary lens to rural geographies, highlighting how planetary urbanization directly impacts land use in rural areas. The interesting thing about this paper also is the fact that they not only talk about the actual impact that it has, but also they view it from the rural point of view, in the sense of they're not talking about planetary urbanization, but they're talking about planetary rural geographies. So it's like changing the focus from their perspective, like what is going on. So the paper advocates a paradigm shift towards planetary rural geographies, rejecting the thesis of planetary urbanization. It emphasizes the interconnectedness of rural and urban spaces globally, recognizing the complex nature of rural areas and their unintentional contributions to crisis. The study highlights the impact of planetary urbanization on land use in rural areas, acknowledging activities like agriculture fueling crises that extend from rural to urban spaces. The paper calls for a relational ontology and epistemic pluralism to study rural-urban dynamics and encourages openness to non-Western theories for a comprehensive planetary understanding. And then we have Kanai's work, that contributes by unveiling the extensive socioeconomic impacts of planetary urbanization or rural areas, emphasizing unequal development resulting from urban upgrading and transformative effects of selective metropolitan expansion. His multidisciplinary approach and collaboration with Brazilian urban geographers offer nuanced insights, enriching our understanding of planetary urbanization dynamics. The author's key findings are the following. So, first of all, the unequal development, where urban upgrading leads to increased inequality in the distribution of benefits. The selective metropolitan expansion, such as infrastructure projects, concurrently brings transformative changes to the rural socioeconomic landscape. The broader regional restructuring transformed isolated borderlands into peripheries, exploited by transnational networks. And despite the attempts to curb deforestation, remote rainforests continue to be urbanized, affecting local economies. So the study advocates for a comprehensive approach to understanding these impacts, considering the intricate interplay of urban and rural dynamics in the context of planetary urbanization processes. So to finish off, we have the conclusions and discussion. So a critical understanding of the interconnectedness between urban and rural spaces is revealed by this research. The synthesis of Henri Lefebvre's foundational theories with Neil Brenner's contemporary insights establishes a theoretical framework that challenges traditional urban-rural distinctions, emphasizing the global nature of planetary urbanization. This prompts a necessary reevaluation of socioeconomic dynamics in rural regions. Buckley and Strauss contribute to by highlighting the importance of diverse knowledge system in comprehending planetary urbanization, advocating for an inclusive approach. However, there are notable gaps in the literature, particularly in addressing methodological considerations for incorporating these diverse perspectives into empirical studies. The need for a nuanced understanding of the socioeconomic impacts of planetary urbanization in rural areas becomes evident in the specific studies made by Wang, May, and Woods, and also Canais, underscoring the unequal development resulting from urban upgrading and transformative effects of urban expansion on rural landscapes. Nonetheless, there is a gap in the exploration of potential mitigation strategies and policy implications to address these socio-economic inequalities. In the broader context, the critical lens emerging from this literature review not only deepens our understanding of the complex interplay shaping rural communities, but also reveals gaps in the current research landscape. Future studies should focus on bridging these gaps, addressing methodological challenges, and exploring practical interventions to foster equitable socioeconomic development in rural areas amid the process of planetary urbanization. I also wanted to highlight that beyond these methodological considerations, it is important to point out that this discourse of profound interconnectedness and interdependence in between the urban and the rural areas is a matter that has been talked about for over 50 years now and has been highlighted by uncountable scholars, and they are still not being considered in an integral and holistic way by public policies. In the so-called urban area, where the inequalities in relation to the rural areas become every day more and more profound, they are often left behind. And this has repercussions for both the urban and the rural communities, and therefore should be a matter of concern for everyone, where the urban areas can develop without the rural areas and vice versa. The changes in public politics should be urgent, considering the fast and big increasing in the urbanization that has been projected by uncountable studies once again. So this was the end of the presentation. I hope I have contributed a bit with this work. And if you have any doubts, you can write me to my email. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.